everybody, and welcome to Sunday Brunch. I am your host, RM, and of course, we have with us today Russ Whitfield. Russ, how are you?
I'm good, thanks, Laura. Happy New Year to you, and Happy New Year to everyone in the chat. I hope you guys had a good Christmas. Um, I didn't do much myself, but yeah, it was pleasant. But how about yourself?
I had a great Christmas. I got way too many presents. I ate way too much food. I didn't drink too much, which was nice. My mother enjoyed herself. It was just a wonderful time. It went by very, very fast. We, talked about past Christmases, looked at pictures. It was a great Christmas. It felt like a normal Christmas for us, and I haven't felt like that for quite some time, for quite a few years.
Hmm.
And it just felt so good to be able to have a normal Christmas for us. This was the first normal Christmas I've had in probably 3 or 4 years. So Christmas is back, Russ. It's back. It's back.
It is. It was good. My girlfriend's on a cruise at the moment. It must be terrible for her going around the Caribbean. Stopping off at Trinidad and Tobago and Barbados and all of these places. I keep saying to her, "I wish you were here," but actually, she probably doesn't. Compared to like rainy ham in Richmond as opposed to Barbados. But there we go.
Yeah, and that's wonderful that she's enjoying herself. A cruise sounds lovely right about now.
Well, you
And
know
I
what?
Mhm.
When I was young in the 80s and the 90s and what have you, I used to see these adverts for cruises. Like Thompson Cruises and this and that and the other one. And I remember watching those adverts, thinking, "Oh God, that just looks like hell on earth." Like full of old people just sitting around, reading the paper. It was just my idea of hell. But now, as I'm 53 this month as well, or next month in January, as I approach my 53rd year, I keep thinking I could do with some cruise action. That would be good. That would be good.
Wow, Russ, this is exciting. It sounds like you're going to be embarking on the world of cruising and you're going to enjoy it. And you and Wendy are going to have such a great time.
Hmm. Yeah, I think so. We're going to Paris for my birthday, I'm told.
Wow, that
So
sounds wonderful.
yeah, yeah. So she
Oh,
ar- she arrives on the 17th, and that'll be that. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
it sounds incredibly romantic, and 2024, it's going to be one of those years, the best year ever. Russ, I am very optimistic for on New Year's Eve. It is my favorite party day of the year. That nothing matches New Year's Eve when it comes to celebrations.
Are you partying tonight?
I'm gonna be going out. I'm not going to an EDM event like I'd like to, but I'm gonna be at the boardwalk with a bunch of my other friends who live in this area, and
Hmm.
we're gonna be going to the boardwalk, and, some of the surrounding towns have fireworks tonight. We're gonna be doing that. It's gonna be cold, like, it's gonna be very, very cold tonight, but,
Hmm.
we're just gonna enjoy ourselves, and the police aren't gonna say anything because there's gonna be so many people coming out and walking on the boardwalk tonight and starting off the new year right, exercising like I was supposed to do all this time, whereas I was supposed to be exercising and I haven't. But I'm going to start off the new year just exercising and enjoying the new year and, just enjoying life and hanging out with friends and talking and just looking forward to 2024 as the best year ever, Russ. It's going to be the best year ever. I'm so excited.
Gonna be the best year. It's gonna be
Yeah,
the greatest year. No year is gonna be good in 2024. It's gonna be the greatest year of all time.
exactly. I think Donald would be quite proud of my comments right
Yeah,
now.
he's such a meme. He really is.
He really is. And certainly, I personally am looking forward to it. I'm just going to put the blur on because that might be better. But I think that this 2024 things will change. And certainly, Russ, you and I do this show together. We've been doing it. This is going to be the end of the second year that you and I have been doing
Wow.
Sunday brunch. Russ, this is the last Sunday brunch of 2023, Russ. 2 years. We're going to be starting a new season 3 of Sunday Brunch. Russ, can you believe that we're going into season 3?
I kind of can. I mean, you're an absolute machine when it comes to these. live streams and broadcasts and guest appearances on other shows. And I know you're ramping up in 2024 for Roman Empire Matters, because it does. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm hoping this year will be my year. I say that every year, but I feel like I'm closer this year than I've ever been. So please God, everything goes correctly. I've pulled my finger out. I'm starting to write a synopsis now for. I've had a sniff, and it is a very small sniff. It's not worth getting excited about or going, "Oh my god, this it's definitely going to happen," and all that sort of thing. But producer I work with thinks that my books might make a good TV show.
Yes, yes.
Well, don't get excited. I mean, it's like 1 in 20 billion chance of that ever happening. But it ain't gonna happen unless I do the work. And I've been kind of procrastinating about doing the work. And I thought the other day, I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna do this. And I started writing a synopsis, and then I was like, oh fuck, I don't know, I can't remember what happens. So I've been sat there reading my own books, which is um, a chastening experience when I read the first one, especially. But I'm part way through it now, so I'll be writing tonight, I think. But no, I'm not doing anything because Wendy's not here, and um, what would be the point, kind of thing. So I think I might have a couple of glasses of wine, and watch something that I love. Do you know what I do love?
What?
You know what I've been loving? What I've been drinking from a cup with my fingers curled.
What?
It's the salty, salty tears of bitterness and pain about the world conquering smash hit that is Rebel Moon. I've I've just so enjoyed it. I I I can't quite describe that, and it's so shallow. It's so shallow. The "I told you so's" and "I knew it," but in my heart, in my little heart, in my little black Snyder Bro heart, I'm like, and you fuckers wait till the director's cut comes out. I've loved it. I loved it. I've loved every second of it, because this guy, he's just a passionate filmmaker, and he's making what he's been given the toys, and he's smashing them together, and he's doing his thing. And I was thinking, I was in the shower a little while ago, and I was thinking to myself that Zack Snyder is kind of like the 90s Manchester United, or the Brady Belichick era of the New England Patriots, in that everybody hates him, but his fans love him, and he's successful, and I've enjoyed it.
I think another analogy, and I would also use Manchester, is the club, that the name of the club from the 90s that I can never seem to remember, but you know the name of it,
Mhm.
Russ.
Oh, what, the Hacienda? Yeah.
Yes.
Sorry, I thought you were talking about a football club. Sorry, I was like, what? I just said Manchester United. What are you on about?
I apologize. I mean, a nightclub, the name of the nightclub that pretty much started it all when it comes to, let's say, at least for me and my imagination and my experience of what nightclubbing is, what EDM has become, playing, having a DJ versus a live band and just playing that.
Mm.
And will people come and listen to this? And it became something that's the norm now. I mean, pretty much it is the norm. And I
What was
think
that? What was that Manchester band? The only one I know.
I love that song.
You're gonna take me away. Because
Mhm.
it's not the Stone Roses, and it's
No,
not
it's
the
not.
Inspiral Carpets, and I just can't. And they did that's Sean Ryder, right? He was the most. They were the most famous ones, and I just cannot think of their names. But yeah, I remember all that stuff from back in the day.
God, I love that group too, and I have it on my phone, but I can't look it up properly while I'm doing this. I can't do both at the same time. However, yeah, it's very much
Fool,
like that.
even the song was called "Fool's Gold," and I still can't remember the name of the band. It wasn't the
Oh,
Charlatans, gal. It wasn't the Charlatans.
yes, yes, it is the Charlatans.
No, they didn't do
Huh?
"Fool's Gold." No, did they? Am I wrong?
I thought
I
it was the
forgot. I
Charlatans.
have to look it up now, because otherwise it's going to drive me
Was
nuts
it
throughout the.
Stone Roses? The Stone
No,
Roses?
they did. "I Want to Be Adored."
Oh,
No,
okay.
it's not "Fool's Gold." Oh my
It's
god,
not
that's
Charlatans UK.
Fool's Gold is Stone Roses.
Yes.
Right. Let me
I thought it
see.
was Charlatans UK.
Sure.
The
Let's
only thing I know. Dun,
the Happy
mm.
Mondays.
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
Yeah.
yes,
All
yes.
right.
Yeah, why didn't I remember that? But Russ, I think that for clubbing, for what let's say the hacienda has done for clubs, while it in itself was a very controversial place, it solidified the need and the desire for people to see to go to clubs, to listen to music from a DJ, and they just wanted that experience. And you can't doubt that people wanted the Rebel Moon experience. I think that's essentially what's happening. And in the end, Netflix, everybody is saying that Netflix has won the streaming wars for us. And
I
I
think
think
so.
it's because they've taken chances like this. Russ, they put this in a movie theater and they streamed it. Think about the audacity of just saying, you know what? We know we're going to have fans who will want to see this in the theater, but we also know we have fans who can't go and see it in the theater. Like a lot of fans can't go and see it.
Mm.
Let's do both. Let's make it accessible to somebody who cannot go into a theater, who has our service. Let's let them be excited about it. They don't have to wait 6 months to see it, Russ. It's literally within a few days of when it was in a theater screen. And I think that it's this kind of excitement, although personally speaking, I think the marketing could have been a little different, but for Netflix, which still seems to be kind of figuring out what it's going to do when it comes to their productions, I think that this is a win for that very reason. And we're going to see more of this, right, Russ? It's going to be the norm, especially for Netflix, which I think knows they can do this. They know they can successfully do this. I don't think they really care how much they make on a screen. That has nothing to do with it. They know that there are fans who will come out and see this work. And it's not easy to make a film. Oh my gosh. Even the audacity to go ahead and say, I pitched it to this person and that person. Netflix took it. We're going to ride with it and people are going to love it. And I don't care what other people think about my work. I think that audacity and that creativity and wanting to have fun with movies is what Rebel Moon is all about. So, I can't wait for the second part, Russ.
Mm.
I just enjoyed it. I want to say hello to Tom Jr. Jackson. I'm just saying hello to everybody
Okay.
because there's so much that you and I like. I haven't had a chance to speak to you this week, but there's so much to talk about, Russ. Hello, Tom Jr. Jackson, moderator, collaborator, and good friend. Tom, we are all goof people. And hello to Keely Chow. And guys,
Oh, well tied.
I did have it set for 10 p.m. by accident. So some of you might be getting the alert just now. There is that. Mikey Lito says as 2024 sweeps across the planet, may it bring peace, joy, civility, and sanity. Good morning, everyone. Yes, and happy new year to you, Mikey Lito, um, who is out there. Irene Jobson is here, says good morning, everyone, especially the lovely, gorgeous goddess art and that handsome, still not shirtless Russell. I love it. I love it. Chef Nation is here. Hey, Chef Nation. Good
Right.
morning, beautiful people. Happy New Year to all. Well, happy New Year to you, Chef Nation. So good to see you here. Who else is here this morning? Gary Bando Sandwich Worthington. Hi, Gary. Hope you are well. Happy New Year to you. Wex Wuther says 2023, we hardly knew ye. Yes, yes. The Bosco scenario is here. Says, good morning, everybody. Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, greetings and felicitations. Hip, hip, hurrah! Tally ho! Yes, Mr. Londell's Groovy Movies, tally ho as we go in to 2024. Isn't it great? Um, Omega, I have to say it, Omega Supreme. I have to say it like
That's
it's
such an awesome handle.
and I have to say, it sounds like a Transformer or a Gundam. Omega Supreme is here. Sunday morning. Roar! Yes, yes, Sunday morning. And Basco scenario is like, are we talking about football? Um,
Only illustratively.
that's right, Basco. And certainly something to think about going forward. Everybody it's been quite a year for sports, and it's been quite a year for entertainment. Joey Johnson is here. Hi, Joey. Um, hope you are well, Joey. Good to see you. And of course, Darth Plato, who is here. Darth Plato, hope you are well this morning. And you know something, Russ? there's been all this conversation, let's say in Hollywood, about how people are going to pick what's successful and what's not successful. I think that's exactly where Zack Snyder has gotten it right, because he picked Netflix. And I
Hmm.
think Netflix is the way to go for a lot of people, for a lot of writers and producers who want to get their work made.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's such a diverse platform, and I think it went down. That's the one, Gary, that we were talking about. Yeah. What was it? You're splitting my melon, man, or something like that. I can't remember what he says. Um, but yeah, no, I mean, they went down the sort of ESG path for a little bit, noticeably, and still do to some extent, but it's certainly not as dominant on the Netflix homepage as it used to be. Um, and yeah, like you've been saying all along, they do so many different. If you don't like whatever, you can watch Korean stuff. There's such a diverse range of choice on Netflix um, that Warner Brothers and even Disney, they just can't seem to compete with, because they own these magnificent, magnificent IPs, but due to poor decisions, whatever the reasoning behind that were, and we all know where we all stand on this stuff. There's no point in going down that road. But for whatever reason, those films, the franchise films, have declined in quality, declined in interest, declined in box office, and just have declined. So it's almost like, who's excited for the next phase of Marvel? How much excitement really is there for Superman Legacy? I mean, maybe that will pick up in 2025. Who knows? Who knows? But Netflix isn't really wedded to a franchise, right? It didn't start off like that, so it's not the studio of Superman and Batman, or nor the studio of Luke Skywalker and Spider Man, right? Um, so yeah, it's attractive, and Zack Snyder has said many times that working with Netflix has been a breeze. They gave him a budget, all right. It wasn't the biggest budget, but it wasn't the smallest budget either. And they said, yeah, just go smash your toys together, man. Do what you want. And he did exactly what George Lucas did in his way. Like, he took the stuff that he loved from his childhood. So Zack Snyder's a similar age to you and I. Think he's a little bit older than us, actually. And he grew up watching Star Wars and all these things, and Magnificent Seven on the telly, on endless repeats, because it was always on when it Magnificent Seven. They used to have the marathon, Return of the Seven, and Magnificent Seven Ride and all that. And he's like, yeah, I want to do this. I want to make a Star Wars film, and they won't let me make a Star Wars film. So fuck it, I'll do my own Star Wars film. And that's exactly what he's done, and people love it. They
Yeah.
absolutely love it. And I've found I really have now. I don't If you don't like the film, you think it's garbage, fine. Like, no, like, I'm not going to sit here with the chair saying, Zack Snyder is the second coming, convince me otherwise, or whatever that meme is. Fine.
You prove me wrong.
Yeah, prove me wrong. Yeah. Um, but I have found the the commentary from certain quarters of the internet so disingenuous. I think I'm astounded. I'm at I really am astounded, especially, like I told you, I don't really watch live streams anymore, because they've become a bit grifty, in my opinion. But I do. Yes, Basco scenario makes a very good point there. Yeah, they would have been smash hits. Extraction. Where was I? Yeah, but from commentators that I respect, and, like, I don't watch, like I say, I'm not into the live streams, but I do watch the editorials, because the editorials, by and large, are still pretty good and have some pretty good takes. But this, I have made a statement and can never climb down from it mentality, has now got to the stage where I've seen, like, the drinker I respect, Gary Neurotic I respect, Disparu not so much, but they're all, what's his name, Mauler, they're all singing from the same hymn sheet, saying that this is woke garbage. It's like, this has no identity politics in it. I love it, hate it. The characterization's poor. You don't like Snyder's visuals. You think the plot's rubbish. It's a stupid film. Whatever. But now to try and sort of justify this sort of malignant attack on someone's films that you just don't like by trying to label it as something that it's not. I mean, these people have a voice. These people are sort of respected. Frankly, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. Like, attack the movie all you want. I get it. Yeah, okay. It's wafer thin on characterization, especially that cinematic cut. I get that, but don't try and appeal to your fan base by claiming it's something that it isn't, so they won't watch it or they won't like it. And you've said, because it's not that. I don't care what anybody says. This film is not round with identity politics. It just happens to have a female lead. Moreover, this movie actually sort of seems to deliver what these people want, right? Okay, it's an original IP, if very, 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 very derivative. Okay, it has a female lead, a strong female lead. But if the character development is thin for pretty much everybody else, we are told front and center this person has been trained from childhood to be a supreme warrior. She is part of this nasty military. She can do this stuff. And we've seen her do it in battle. And she makes mistakes. And she gets saved by a man who is neither a person of color or seems to care. You know, he's in love with her, like it's literally stated in the film. The bloke says, "You're in love with her," and that guy saves her life after she's fucked up and got them all into a situation. That's what they've been screaming for. Original IP character that doesn't suddenly have all these amazing skills and can do all these sort of things. Even in the final fight, or the penultimate fight, if you like, she's not winning. She has to pick up a weapon and against the guy. She can't beat him, so she's whacking him with a stick. Like, she's not indestructible. So the film delivers you everything that you want, but now it's, oh, well, we can't criticize it for giving us what we want. We're going to criticize it for something that it isn't. And I think that that's just terrible. Just say, I hate this director. I hate everything he's done. I can't bear him. I don't like this film. It's this and it's this and it's this, all of which is totally legit.
Hmm.
But to rabble rouse and to say it's something it's not, I was, obviously I'm biased as well. I'm a fan of the guy, but I thought that was out of order.
Yeah, and Russ, thank God you're here because, as you know, I don't watch other reviews of movies on
Mhm.
YouTube. And certainly, there's a lot that people have been saying. I focus on, and sometimes I don't like something, and I do say that, uh, but it's rare that I, try to break apart someone's creation. Latoya T says, "Hello, everybody. Happy New Year, Latoya T.
Hey,
Such a pleasure to see you, Latoya. I hope you are well. Happy New Year to you." And also to Maria with Tia and Telly. Maria, Happy New Year to you, my dear. So good to see you. I hope you are well, and I hope that 2024 brings you all these wonderful things. Everybody, I have very positive vibes about 2024 for our entire community. It's going to be the best year ever. You know something?
it's gonna be the best year. It's
It
gonna be the
is.
greatest year. No other year is gonna be as great as.
I could get up there and start saying that. Like he would say, "We need RM to
Yeah,
come to the rally."
yeah, totally.
But it's true. I do feel that way, and I feel very positive, and I think that our community has is a very special community where we get to share our thoughts and feelings about different things and things we're excited about, things that have surprised us, all sorts of amazing things that have come out in entertainment in a way that it's very rare. But you make a good point with there's always going to be somebody who loves something you don't care for.
Mm.
And, it's like if it was a family member, you'd be very cautious. If you cared about the person, be very cautious about how you say it. And I also think that for the most part, let's say professional reviewers can be very careful. The majority of them are very careful when they review a film. And of course, as I always say, Siskel and Ebert were always my favorite because one would love it and another one would not care for it. And my favorite comeback always was one guy would say, "This is the worst film I've ever seen." And then the other guy would say, "This is the movie of the year." And I just
Mm,
love it. And the worst film you've ever seen can be the movie of the year. That's why entertainment is so much fun to talk about. Now, Russ, I always think about where entertainment is going. And this is quite a transition period. After this strike has ended, there's a lot of unknowns, and a lot of people are trying to speculate where money's going to go. And as I said already, clearly Netflix is the one that's come out on top. They get the crown. They're going to be wearing the crown, and I think it's going to continue not just into 2024, but Russ, 2025, because they're offering something that pretty much the other groups cannot really offer. First
mm.
thing that Netflix does right is that when you subscribe to them, you get access to everything.
Yes.
Now, I'm not going to say there's anything wrong with Amazon's model of giving you access to a certain number of free movies, and then they have other ones that you can purchase. But boy, isn't it frustrating at this point in the game, Russ, after paying all this money to try to get access to streaming sites, only to get on there, click the button, and it'll say, well, the way that you can get it is if you pay $2.99 or
Other
12.
ways to watch.
Yeah, and it's so frustrating to see that, and I think people are really gonna be turned away from that. They're charging over, like, it's $139 for Amazon Prime anyway per year. I
Mm,
think Netflix is the much better deal, and we're getting different types of creativity from Netflix that Amazon, I think, is stymied. They're almost stymied because they have all these contracts with different people, but I think Amazon's model, which is originally just a shop there, a group where you could buy stuff from.
mm.
Now they're in the movie business. And, will they be successful as Netflix? I don't know. But for the most part, there are other corporations that want to be like Amazon. They want to be able to sell product. They want to be able to sell movies. They want to be able to provide movies. They want to be able to make movies. Amazon has their hands in a lot of different ways involved in entertainment in a way that no one else really seems to have it. Um, and I think one other thing that Amazon does too is that it has second and third party sellers. So that
Mm.
means if you're not getting it directly from Amazon, they'll have a separate seller who's available. So I hope I'm saying that right. You can buy stuff from Walmart through Amazon. You can buy stuff from other retailers through Amazon. But my point being is that there really isn't any other company out there like that, except for maybe, no, I don't think, like, Alibaba doesn't make movies, right? Um,
No, Apple does though,
Apple
as
does. Apple
people are
does,
pointing out in the chat. Excuse me.
but you can't buy third party items through Apple. So that's the thing. They're exclusive to only their products. And
But
for
here's a
how
question.
Mhm.
Here's a question for you. If you are Bob Iger and you're David Zaslav, what would you do with your streaming company? Because I was thinking about this the other day because there's something on Amazon I do want to rave about in a minute, but it's almost like they've sunk so much money into this failed sort of streaming venture um, that they're unwilling to pull out and risk defeat. But how long are you going to keep throwing tens of billions of dollars at something that isn't working? And I don't know what the answer is, and I don't know even if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, I remember, I think it was the 90s or the 2000s. There was rumors of a Star Wars TV show that George Lucas was doing. I think that they even shot, it was like Star Wars Underworld or something like that, and it was set. And there were these pictures of like Imperial stormtroopers walking around on gantries, and it was like Blade Runner cross with Star, and it was so exciting. And now here we are in an era of 30 something superhero Marvel movies, 20 something DC movies of varying quality. It has to be said. Star Wars wall to wall on the telly, superheroes wall to wall on the telly. Like all of our dreams have come true, but the problem with it is most of it's shit, and it's almost as though you've got. And this is not, like this is hardly new science that I'm speaking here, but that you've got all of these things, these revered brands that you own and you want to monetize, that you've paid billions of dollars for, you've had for 100 years, and you want to, make money out of them. But the brands are now so tarnished because of substandard stuff. What would you do? What would you do? If
Yeah.
you're Zaslev, would you say, look, this, he said DC is for sort of tentpole movies, and that's what we're going to do. And he seems to sort of be sticking with that. I mean, we don't seem to have, like, Superboy and Supergirl and Crypto the Superdog and Aqualad and all of these things on HBO Max, or Max as it's now called. But with slightly less of a sticky mess for him than it is for Bob Iger. And I wonder if people will start taking a leaf out of Sony's book and just go, "Do you know what, fuck this. Like, let's get back to making movies, and we'll put those movies on streaming after 6 months. But we're a movie studio. We're not a TV studio, or maybe we are, but it's the model isn't working. But it is working for Netflix because they can rent Superman and Batman off of Warner Brothers if they want to, and put that on their platform, which they've recently done. So yeah, I don't know. I was just throwing it out there.
Well, I do want to say Happy New Year to Cavantino Cavalryman Che, who
Mhm.
says Happy New Year's Eve or day, wherever you are, everyone. Well, Happy New Year to you. And hello, Jamin D. Happy New Year to you as well. Hope you are well. Jamin D is
Hey,
in the
Jamin.
house. Bonzo Kilborn says Happy New Year. Sorry, wait, what did I miss? You haven't missed anything, Bonzo?
Yeah, we were just killing time till you got here, man. Don't worry
That
about it.
is
We're kind
that
of waiting. We're waiting for Big Joe. Like, where the fuck's Joe? Like, come on. We're half an hour into the stream, Joe. Where the hell are you?
that is very true. Um, I guess what I've said before is what's really interesting about Disney, is that Disney wants to be like Amazon.
Hmm.
And I think what Disney wants to have the reach that Amazon has, and it doesn't. Amazon is worldwide. Everybody on earth knows Amazon. Whereas not
Sorry,
everybody's
can I just ask you a question as part of your point? I'm not interrupting. Well, I kind of am, but it's been often said that Amazon and Apple, this is making movies is pocket change for them. It's gonna have, fuck it. We spent 1 billion on the Rings of Power. Everyone hates it. Ah, never mind. We'll make a new season anyway. And Apple seem to be the same. They've got all of these billions, but the other ones are movie studios, and that's their core business. So does that play in? Anyway, sorry. Pray continue.
Yeah, that's a good point. Like I said, Amazon is very unique because they have their hands in every area of the pie.
Hmm.
But I think that, like, I wouldn't want to see Netflix suddenly start to sell merchandise. I wouldn't
Mm,
want to see that. I think that would be a disaster. And I think the when it made sense that Netflix started to make movies and TV because they work in producing things like that. First distributed films and pictures, and now after deciding that we're not just going to be distributors, we're going to be producers of film and pictures, it makes sense that they would get into that. So it wasn't, gee, I wonder why they're doing that. I think when Amazon started to do it, it didn't necessarily feel like something that maybe was part, necessarily in their area of expertise. And perhaps it's true. Perhaps it's not in their area of expertise. It's just a side hustle, but it's an expensive side hustle and they have a lot of money to throw at it. And I think their approach is that we want to have every piece of the pie. Amazon has turned into the company that says, I'm going to invest in everything. And it doesn't matter if one or two things fail, I'll still have some of the other things to work out of. It's kind of like if you have a stock portfolio and your stockbroker says, well, just invest 10% here, 10% there. And then after 30 years, whatever doesn't do well will balance out what does do well. And I
mm,
think that's Amazon's approach. I'm not going to say that they aren't visionaries. And I'm certainly not going to say that they don't have any passion for their creative work, but it kind of does feel sometimes as if they're not visionaries and that the passion for their work is not there. Sometimes it does feel like that. Whereas in Netflix, I've never had any impression that anything Netflix has ever put out lacked any kind of passion. It feels like they're all passion projects. And even Chandra, who has made, oh my gosh, I love you, Terrier. Even
mhm.
Chandra, and Mike has bad knees. Happy New Year to you. Mike has bad knees. I love your avatar, man. Happy New Year to you in 2024. It's coming up in a few hours. even Chandra Raines, who made Grey's Anatomy and
Mm,
also made Bridgerton, the
mm,
one of the highest viewed TV shows on Netflix ever.
mm,
She said that when she went from the network to Netflix, the network would constantly tell her, "No, you can't do this, Chandra. No, you can't do this." This woman's been writing for network TV for 20 years.
mm,
When she went over to Netflix, they were like, "Sure, you can do that. Yeah, you can do that." And she said she got a yes at other times where even after proving herself time and time again, after years and years and years on network TV, she would get a no. What's my point? I think Netflix is a passion project kind of place. And Netflix has always been this, experimental entertainment franchise. But now, because it's stuck to what it knows, it's been consistent, and you don't have to click on a movie and wonder if you can watch it on Netflix.
mm.
That's why people have stayed with Netflix. That's why Netflix has continued to have a loyal following and will continue. Netflix is not going anywhere. I hope to God they don't have a different model where you don't get all the movies. I think that would destroy Netflix and would put it into the category of all the other stuff that we can't stand. I hate turning on something and finding out I don't already have access to that movie. I could go to the store and find that out. I don't need to turn on a service I'm paying money for just to find out I can't watch it. Darn them for doing that to me. Don't go ahead and do that to me. It's so unfair. I think it's mean. I think it's done to like hustle you. Hey, oh, you can't see the movie you want, but how about you see this other movie? Oh yeah, by the way, it costs 10.99. I'm not a child. I'm a freaking adult. Don't try and hustle me out of money when I'm already giving you $10 a month already to watch this stuff anyway. People don't, it's so disgusting. And
Mm,
sometimes it's not even what you asked for. Amazon's quality, even in their products, has gone down. But
mm.
we haven't had a problem like that with Netflix where we get a movie, we expect to see that movie. It's pretty much advertised as what it's supposed to be. I think that they have a very interesting formula. Now, in regards to Disney, Disney wants to be like Amazon. They want a piece of everything. And we can see in their behavior, like their acquisitional behavior, what they invest in outside, a lot. And even the decrease in quality in their entertainment and in products has reflected very similarly to what has happened with Amazon. And
Mm.
so even though you want to have your hand in a piece of the pie, every piece of the pie, sometimes it can cause your organization to suffer. And Disney is not going to stop. They want to be like Amazon. They want to be as global. They want to have the reach Amazon has. That's their ultimate goal. It is not necessarily, in my opinion, to provide quality entertainment.
Yeah, I think you make a lot of good points there. Or um, not least of all that Disney does want to do that. But just sorry, do you want to get this first?
Yes. Oh, Terrier, I love you so much, Terrier. If only we were in the same country, Terrier. Um, want to wish you an incredibly warm and happy New Year, Terrier. And no matter where you are out there, I hope you are next to someone who cares for you. I hope those two beautiful kids of yours are having such a wonderful holiday season, and that you are snowshoeing and doing all that fun stuff where you live, Terrier. But if you ever move to the United States, you better call me. Terrier says, Happy New Year, you gorgeous people. I'm making crispy duck and opening a box of 4Ks from Vinegar Syndrome, Existence,
Existence.
Freeway, Prophecy, Miami Connection. You know what? I'm going to have to order Emmanuel, and we're going to have to watch that one together, Terrier. Terry, you have a wonderful, wonderful New Year's 2024. Things are just getting better and better, Terry. You always
I've
have
got
a
a question for Terrier. Is that
nice
the
smile.
prophecy with Christopher Walken?
It's a good
Is
question.
I need to know.
Vinegar
Um,
syndrome.
but while we're waiting for that,
Yeah.
um, yeah, I the thing is, as we were discussing before with Amazon, yeah, but they're not a film company, and I think where they've tried to get involved in production and come out with their with the higher ups and the heads of, it's inevitably blown up in their faces. So you had this whole thing about the rings of power, which I know everybody was castigated and lambasted, and I didn't. I watched 2 episodes and that was it. I was done with it. But that was when they were overtly getting involved with the messaging, and coming out with the same sort of spiel that Disney always does. If you don't like it, you're a this and a that, and it's got nothing to do with our substandard product. It's everything to do with you being a hateful person. They went down that road. That kind of blew up in their faces. And I was thinking about this as you were talking. Actually, um, Netflix didn't do that. They had the controversy over Cleopatra, but they didn't come out and launch a massive attack on anybody that didn't like it. And it's almost seems to me like when Netflix did start to pursue this same style of presenting their home screens that Amazon adopted and Disney adopted and all these things, it wasn't landing with people. And I'm sure Netflix don't make these decisions out of the goodness of their heart. But when people start to say, like, why did you write to when you leave Netflix? Oh, sorry to see you go. Why are you leaving us? I'm leaving because you produced this stupid documentary and it was offensive to me and blah 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 blah. I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of those that they got, but they would have got a few of those kinds of letters, and maybe they're thinking, ah, okay, well we better not do that again. And I'm sure that there is content on Netflix that appeals to either side of the political fence and will give you what you want, but they didn't launch an attack in the same way that Amazon did. And I wonder if Amazon will have learned from that. It would appear not, because they've gone for stunt casting with Sauron. That's again anybody that was like a hardcore Tolkien fan that was thinking, okay, well look, we complained about season one. We're gonna give season two. They must have learned. You're thinking with your Tolkien fan hat on. They must have learned. It'll be. Oh God. And they've done this casting, and it's casting that they'll defend until the hill. But everybody knows why it's being done. And what have they got? They've just got more outrage because of it. And that's what you don't do. And Netflix seems to have gone, oh shit, we've made a mistake. Let's change our front screens. Let's change, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's start promoting content that people love and not promote content that people don't love. And then they'll resubscribe and we'll be rich beyond the dreams of avarice. And I wonder if that plays into um if that plays into why they're winning, or on the cusp of, or on the verge of victory of the streaming wars. Maybe they're not as wedded to BlackRock and all the rest and those quotas that studios have to hit in order to keep their credit line going, because maybe they're more cash rich than Warner Brothers, and they're certainly not more cash rich than Amazon. Nobody is, but I don't know, man.
No, this is something to think about. And certainly there's another element, and it has to do with corporation cultural practices. And some of those practices don't really even have anything to do with your bankroll. It has to do with, well, does this company have experience in entertainment? Do they produce music? Do they produce movies?
Hmm.
And some investors, not all, but some investors in some companies want a company that diversifies more.
Hmm.
And even when it comes to projects or gaining rights to certain types of movies or IPs, they won't grant the right to somebody who's never done it before. And I think that we kind of saw a little bit of that when it came to, it may not be all the correct details, but when it came to, let's say, Tolkien's Empire,
Mm.
when Amazon just wanted to throw a bunch of cash and get everything. It's, this kind of cat, and it's not a cash grab, but it's kind of like, I'm going to make you an offer you can't refuse. And they're like, no, no, we can refuse it. We can do it. We can refuse.
Mm.
But then if you can go ahead and say, well, here, we've produced something, we know what we're doing, even if it's garbage, executives and other people will look at that. An executor in a state will say, well, yeah, they made something out of it. There isn't a whole bunch of people making programs about Tolkien's work. There
Mm.
isn't, because it costs so much money to make that show. And some of these executors might look at it from the point of view of, at least it's being made and put out there, which I think for the Star Wars franchise, that's some of the investors' approaches. It was still made, though.
Mm.
Shows were made. Other companies couldn't make those shows because they didn't have the ability to do it, or the capital, or whatever, but at least it's out there. And they're not concerned about whether it's made a whole bunch of money. the artistic vision was put out there, and they were happy with that artistic vision. And they have a track record now of being able to produce content. Whether people loved it or not, it does not matter to them whatsoever. They're looking at it as it's an artistic vision and shows that they can do it. It's possible to do it. I
Mm,
can go ahead and produce a whole series. I can
mm,
produce 3 seasons of The Mandalorian. I can go ahead and make 3 major motion pictures. I
mm,
can go ahead and make a special, and people will, it will be available, and I can go ahead and say, well, we have 10 million subscribers. Chances are at least 1 million people watched it. That's a lot of people to watch a show. And so that's their approach. They're not concerned about whether people are loving it or anything like that. In the end, they want to be able to say that they're capable of doing it. And it's not necessarily everybody who can do it effectively and fantastically, where it's going to make everybody happy, but they can at least say that they were able to do it. I bet you if they went to the studios, Russ, and tried to pitch some of their work, the studios would be like, I don't think so.
mm.
But now they have the
Well,
ability to do it on their own.
Rebel Moon.
Yes.
Kathleen Kennedy said, "No, I don't think so." Zack Snyder said, "Fine," and Netflix said, "We love it. Here's $150 million. Go smash your toys together, Zach." Zach was like, "Cool." But hey, we
And
should catch up on some chats, right?
yes, Joey says, I remember the good old days waiting for a DVD from the mail and Netflix. So do I, Joey. It was so good. Um, and Joey, Carantino Cavalry Che makes a good point about saying, why doesn't Netflix make DVDs? Now that's something that I wonder why they don't go ahead and do that. I'd still watch Netflix even if I bought physical media. What about you, Russ?
Definitely, I saw it. It might have been Cavalryman Che in the comments, or somebody was saying, "Oh, I'd love a 4K box set of Cobra Kai." And I also think with that, and I'm trying to think of something that's disappeared off of Netflix. But let's say you really loved, I don't know, something that's disappeared off Netflix. You could
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone. There you go. So
Shadow
you
and
can you could go buy the box set of Shadow and Bone, and it would never not be there for you because you could buy it. I don't know. It's an interesting question. Oh, he's the guy that was in the Punisher, right?
Hell yeah. Maria from T and Telly and I think alike.
There you go.
He says, I hope Netflix brings back Shadow and Bone. Well, Maria from T and Telly, so do I, because I love Ben Barnes. I can't get enough of this man. I think he is smoking hot. He's such a great actor. I've enjoyed him in everything he's ever made. And it's a good show. It's very different. It has a great concept to it. I sure hope they bring it back too, and I sure hope we see our Ben Barnes, Maria from T and Telly. God, I love that man. And certainly something else. Bonzo wanted to know if we saw Godzilla. I have not seen it. I'm sure it's fantastic. People are saying it's maybe the movie of the year.
Movie of the year. What does he say? Russ, have either of you seen Godzilla yet? Not. If not, you have no idea what you're missing. Not to start a row, but it's better than Rebel Moon. I'm sure it is. I'm
Yeah.
sure it is. But as I said before, I just don't like Godzilla movies. Like I've never been. Oh my god, I've got to see that. Like it has just there's no interest, holds no interest for me whatsoever. So sorry, but I'm sure it's brilliant. I've heard it. I've heard nothing but good things about Godzilla. And more power to you, man. I'm glad you loved it.
Yeah, and certainly I think Godzilla is sort of like the quiet winner when it comes to I'm not even going to say superhero films. I'm going to say culturally significant franchise that isn't going anywhere. They'll be making Godzilla movies 100 years from now, Russ.
Mm,
And it'll be whatever the current state of the planet is. And Godzilla, people will be at the beach. It'll be like some chick like the
mhm.
band of Soleil woman will be at the beach, and then out of nowhere, freaking Godzilla's gonna come out of the freaking ocean. I mean, and it has a cultural significance as well. But I'm just saying that the excitement of Godzilla and the ability to attach Godzilla with regular stories, why not? Why not go ahead and celebrate a kaiju? Let's go ahead and have fun with it. And people will show up, even if that's not anything it's not their passion. People will sit there and watch it if it's a good story. They will.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? It doesn't have to be 150 million, 250 or $300 million. It just has to be good.
Yes, and, it's things like, Blood and Bone, which, Maria Wittiantelli and I are Shadow and Bone we're talking about, where it is a very unusual genre, like, it's this fantasy genre that I
Mhm.
think Netflix can do and do it well. They can do, action, we saw Extraction 1
Oof.
and 2, they can do it well. I mean, my mouth is watering from Hemsworth in that. We saw incredible ability. In fact, that might be my favorite Hemsworth character. Uh,
Oh god, I mean, Rhea, this guy, I mean, he's like as big as my door. He's he's as good looking as all as anything, but he's a little bit like Henry Cavill in this way that people just warm to this man, and he is badass. He looks convincing. He looks like the one of the criticisms that gets leveled at the girl boss. She's they always say, "Oh, it's £100 girl thrown around very uh you know easy stuntmen that are going to let her but when you see Chris Hemsworth doing it, you believe that he could do it in the same way that we all believed Arnold Schwarzenegger and Chuck Norris and Sylvester Stallone could really do that stuff. Their characters could really do that stuff back in the day. When you look at Hemsworth's character in that, he's entirely believable. I like it's so good. Extraction is so awesome. Really, really, really got to be amongst one of the films of the year. Hey, the second one.
Yeah, I agree. And of course, I'm showing the first one, guys. And I just wanted to bring it up because, of course, it is a Netflix feature. Many of you talked about how amazing it was. And you already said this, but I want a box set of Cobra Kai. We know it's going to come to a conclusion.
Mm.
Irene makes a good point about Amazon pushing stuff from Temu or Wish. The Amazon has made contracts with other retailers. If you want to buy something from, I don't know, L'Oreal, there's a L'Oreal store in Amazon. Like it's become the central hub, but you can go to L'Oreal and buy it separately too. But I think it is very interesting what we're seeing. And yes, also Mikey Lito says he would like to see Tick Tick Boom. And we would still watch it. I'd still watch it on Netflix, even if I had the physical media. I think that's so important to know. If I got Extraction, first of all, I'd like to buy this for my brother. I'd like to
Mm.
buy him Extraction 1 and 2. I would have liked to have gotten him that for Christmas. And he'd have been like, oh, wow, thank you. Like it's little things like this that we all really enjoy. Um,
When you're talking about physical media, from let us say, let's talk about Extraction, right? What I miss and what streaming could provide, but hasn't, and or certainly not to my knowledge, is special features, the making of, the director's commentary, the retrospectives, the this, the that. They don't have that, and I love that stuff so much. Like I've sat and I've watched the entire Lord of the Rings thing, the commentaries, all of them. I used to sit on the couch, fall asleep on the couch listening to them talking about this, and then put the same thing on, from the point I fell asleep at the night before. All of that stuff. I absolutely love that, and I really feel that that's missing because that was always the value add. That was the value add of like I've got two copies of Underworld. Okay, I've got the original DVD and then the Blu-ray, because the Blu-ray has the extended cut, which has an actor's commentary with Kate Beckinsale, Scott Speedman, and the writer director. But the DVD, which is the theatrical cut, has a commentary with the writer and the director, and it's just so much better. I don't like actors' commentaries because they're not talking. They don't talk about so much about the process and what things mean, and they're talking about their experiences, and I don't find that stuff is interesting. But what's my point? My point is that they're missing a trick with special features. Yes, the first three prophecy movies in 4K, the Gabriel trilogy with Walken. I loved that film. I was in Blockbusters in the night. Was it? Would it have been the 90s or the 90s? Yes. And I saw it and I thought, oh, this looks good because I do like a bit of a biblical thriller. I'm not going to lie. And there were loads of them around. What was it? The Blue Diamond Phillips did one. There were loads of that. But the prophecy, I was so inspired by that film. I absolutely loved it, and I loved it for so many years. Anyway, the one day I was talking to my daughter about something, and I was banging on about the prophecy and how great it was and all the rest of it. So because she sat and watched it, and now it's one of her favorite movies too. She absolutely loves the Prophecy, the trilogy. She thinks that the third one's obviously the weakest, but oh, such great movies. So well done, Turjo. I'm jealous that you have those on 4K.
And Russ, you have taught her well. You've
I
taught her
have I have indeed.
um, hello, Norwegian Kryptonian. How are you? Happy New Year to you. Hope you are well. So good to see you, and thank you for stopping by. It's so nice to see you here today. What a great day, guys. I just love. Oh wow, Irene. Irene says
Hmm.
Happy New Year's, everyone, and happy ninth birthday. Oh, to my oldest daughter, Abigail.
All
Thank you
right,
for the
well,
super chat.
hold on a second then. Bear with me. Am I front and center? Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Abigail. Happy ninth birthday to you, and a happy new year.
Aw, happy birthday, dearest Abigail. And your mother is such a lovely woman, Abigail. We are so happy that it is your birthday today. And certainly, what an exciting time to have your birthday on New Year's Eve, Abigail. When you get older, you're going to be partying like it's your birthday because it is. So, happy birthday to you. And thank you, Irene, for the super chat. You're always so supportive, and you are such a lovely lady. Thank you, Irene, again. Um, Goodness gracious, what a day. Oh my gosh, I love New Year's. Um, Mike has bad knees says Amazon does have shows like Reacher as well to appease the other side. Absolutely, Mike. Sometimes they can pull off something really good. And I have to tell you that when it comes to Reacher, the author of the books has strict control over the content. Incredibly strict
Ah,
control. He's British and he is very specific about what they're able to do and not do with his Reacher character. So that's something else to think about as well. And Reacher is one of the best television series I've ever seen in my life. I
mm.
think, of course, the incredible Alan Richton, who I can't stop looking at. And to be honest with you, and I'm not just saying this to, I'm not just saying this to kiss your ass, Terrier, but this is the guy that reminds me of you. Terrier is Alan Richton. Um, so this
Just to address Mike has bad knees. This is the point, isn't it, Mike? Well, I think we were saying before. If the studio overtly gets involved and starts wanting to put agendas in and things like that, that's when things go to shit. But as our room just said, the author has complete, well, not complete control, a lot of control over this. So he's not going to allow his moneymaker to be bastardized. And I guess that was part of his contract to say, no, I have final cut, or I have final say, or whatever, and you can't do this and you can't do that. And that makes absolute sense because like the guy, the Witcher guy, um is it Sikowski? Forgive me if I'm getting the uh, uh
Wachowski.
no, the guy who wrote The Witcher. I forget his name now. I think it was
Who wrote
Sikowski.
the I don't know who wrote it, I'm
But
sorry.
yeah, but he doesn't have any control.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, so he gave him it's a bit like George Lucas, like, oh, here are my notes. This is what I think you should do, and they're like, yeah, cheers. No, we're not going to do that. And hence, well, the problems of The Witcher are well documented.
Yeah, and, but certainly Reacher is a winner, and I'll watch Alan Richton, like, if this goes on for the next 40 years, I'll watch, Reacher when he's, like, 100, I don't
Mhm.
care. Um, Mike has bad knees says, "Kaiju movies aren't for everyone." This is very true. Irene says that her son loves Godzilla, but they haven't seen -1 yet and heard it's good. I have no idea if it's dark, Irene. Maybe someone can enlighten her. She's wanna turn on something that'll freak out the kids. We'll find out. The old Yorkshire geek says Happy New Year for everybody. Sorry, I'm like, hey, Happy New Year to you, old Yorkshire geek, who is also an incredibly talented artist. I'm loving your artwork that you keep putting online there. It's fantastic. And guys, thank you so much for doing this. Tom Jr. Jackson took a moment out to remind you that I do have a new channel called Roman Empire Matters. And pretty much it is about entertainment inspired by or about the Roman Empire. And I am so excited to be bringing this channel to you guys. It is a passion project, and certainly it's going to be a lot of fun to be doing this. Hold on one second. It automatically goes to like a video, so I apologize,
Mhm.
but I was trying to bring it up for you so you guys can see it. Please do subscribe to Roman Empire Matters. And we have so much fun things that we're going to be talking about. If you like the Roman Empire, which I imagine many of you do, please do subscribe. We explore entertainment inspired by the Roman Empire. As one person said, if it's got Romans in it, it's in. Yes. So certainly do subscribe if you want to know and see all this great entertainment that pretty much almost all of our lives for many of us has been Roman Empire inspired. And Tom Jr. Jackson, you are such a godsend, says that yes, I believe Shadow and Bone is coming back. I just want to see more of Ben Barnes. I just love him so much. Now, also, just want to remind you guys that Julian and I are still reviewing For All Mankind on Fridays on the Burnettwork, and on this channel as well. So please do tune in for that. We only have a few more episodes left before the season is up. Gosh, I don't know what I'm going to do without it. Maria with T and Telly says, the outfit I chose for my comic book was inspired by Shadow and Bone. Wow. Maria, if your comic book is complete, can you please put the link for your comic book in the chat, please, my dear, so we can see that information if you don't mind. I did not know that you were inspired by Shadow and Bone. I can tell you I'm inspired by Ben Barnes. I think he's a wonderful actor. He's just so great. So guys, certainly do check out. Please let us know, Maria, if it's completed, if you have the link, what it's called, so we can go ahead and promote it here.
Mm.
Cavantino Cavalryman Chase says, saw pre-production of Henry Cavill's Highlander on IMDb. Only 3 images, but they look good. And I am intrigued. Russ, have you seen pre-production of Henry Cavill's Highlander on IMDb?
I have not, but talking of Henry Cavill, what I did want to touch on, as we were talking about Amazon, of course, is the recent confirmation that Games Workshop have now signed an official deal with Amazon to bring forth the 40K cinematic universe with our one true savior Henry Cavill exec producing, in control of the project and starring in said project. Given Cavill's absolute adherence to the source material, like he's a fan and he knows what the fans want, I color me color me excited. I know I only started getting into Warhammer 40K lore recently. I think it was this year or maybe the year before. I just found this channel called Lutin '09, and he just tells you the story of the lore, and it's fascinating. It's fascinating stuff. I love it. Um, never played the games, I never read the books, but I do like the lore. And if Cavill has creative control and isn't subject to the, let's say, the rings of powering of the Warhammer 40K property, then I think this is going to be up there. I mean, Warhammer 40K is so rich, and Amazon have got so much money. Um, I just can't wait. That's Highlander, isn't it? Yeah.
I don't know where this picture is from. I just decided to pick it because it's got Henry Cavill in it, and I wanted to find the one on IMDb. And I'm sorry, Cavantino Cavalryman, this is not the right one, but maybe this is the right one, Russ.
Mm.
But I just wanted to put up something there because of how special Henry Cavill is, and gee, he just looks good as everything. But he in Highlander and then in Warhammer 40K, as you're saying, Russ, my best friend, his son is into Warhammer 40K, and he's got like all those little figures,
Hmm.
where you have to paint them and everything. And I always joke around about it. I said, if you gave me a figure that was this big and I had to paint it in different colors, it would just end up being one color because I
Mm.
would not be able to do it. But the hours and hours that are spent not just on playing the game, but on making these figures and so much more, it is one of the biggest franchises out there, and I think it's going to be spectacular. And I actually want to be um I want to be, I'm going to say seduced. I
Mm,
want to be seduced by Warhammer 40K, Russ.
yeah,
I
well,
want James Cavill to seduce me into watching this show and also into playing Warhammer 40K. Will it happen? I think so, Russ. I think so.
well, it's going ahead, isn't it? And I can't imagine Cavill would have got into bed with Amazon or anybody else to be the face and exec producer of their new franchise if he didn't have a tight rein on what was going on, because we know that he left The Witcher because they were not taking the subject matter seriously. Therefore, you'd think, having come from that experience and now been offered this opportunity, um, he wouldn't sign anything unless he had control, because as a fan he knows he's going to know how rabid the Warhammer 40k fans are, and they are a pretty sort of rabid bunch. I mean, this lore channel looting, I absolutely love it. It's so good. But he talks about like the passion of the fans, and there's a huge fan base out there for this. And if they get this wrong, I mean, it's the biggest selling game in it that Creative have ever done. The Rome Total War people, they did Warhammer Total War, and it's just exploded in popularity. So you've got computer gamers that know it from the computer games, you've got novel fans that know it from the novels, you've got gamers that know it from playing the tabletop battles, you've got lore people like me that just enjoy it because of the stories I mean, there's all sorts of people from all different walks of life love that property. And if you're Henry Cavill, you're now in a position where you are powerful enough within the entertainment industry to take the thing that you love and see it realized as you've always wanted to see. Yeah, it's brilliant. Lucian, I love him. Um, so Darth Plato, just start listening to that. He's got a playlist that says Warhammer lore in order, and you can just start listening. It will take you months to get through it, but it's just so good. Yeah, but back to my point. Um, so Cavill has been given now the opportunity to do this, make his all of his dreams come true. Now he's been given the toys to smash together. I can't imagine that he's gonna be told, well, you have to have this many diverse characters here, and you have to have that. The emperor now has to be, you know, of a different sexuality than he is originally, and all that. I just don't think it's just not going to wash with him. He wouldn't sign it if he was subject to that stuff. And I wonder, and certainly, I tell you who else wouldn't. Cavill aside, I tell you who else are vehemently protective over this stuff is Games Workshop themselves. So they wouldn't be signing away rights for Amazon to come along and say, well, actually now the Emperor's a woman, and the Space Marines aren't the most important force. It's actually the Sororitas are now the most important force, and it's all going to be about the Sororitas. And I just think Games Workshop should be like, no, no, you do it our way, we don't do it. And I wonder if that's why the deal took a while to sign, because they just sat there like that, going, no, 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 no. But do you not feel that with yeah, Mikey, sorry, just sidetrack. Mikey Lito says here Apple has special features on some of their digital content. Yeah, my nephew, when he was living here, he had Apple TV, and yes, they do. I was just talking more generally, like you don't really get it on Amazon, you certainly don't get it on Netflix, and I think it's a big miss. Yeah, so maybe they were just wrangling over what they could and couldn't do. So I'm very, very, very confident in Henry Cavill, and I'm not going to lie, man. I'm more excited about this as a lifelong Superman fan, which I am. I'm more excited about a lore, a universe that I'm only peripherally interested in. Warhammer 40k. I can't wait. I cannot wait.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be maybe one of the most successful franchises ever, because of the fan base alone, and it will be heavily criticized just because of the fact that the fans are so passionate about it, not because they hate it. It's not going to be anything like that, and I think that it will inspire more people to play the game. I want to be inspired to play that game. It is it a PC based game, Russ?
No, no, it started off as a war game, tabletop war game.
Okay.
And but now there are computer games of it. You see, so you said you were inspired to play the game. Well, you don't have to play the game. You can go play a computer game if you want. Go read a novel if you want. Go watch movies if you want. There are some animated movies of it. Go listen to a lore channel. There's all sorts of ways. Or you could just start painting figures. You can do anything in that universe. And I think that's the big appeal of it. But I think if Cavill delivers Warhammer 40k as Warhammer 40k is, the fans will love him for it. They will love him for it. I mean, as much as he's loved already, he's going to, be our Lord and Savior Henry Cavill, right? Everybody loves him, and I think he can really elevate himself with this if he does it right. And I have full confidence that he will do an outstanding job. I don't know what they're going to pick, because the thing, of course, with Warhammer 40,000 is there's thousands and thousands and thousands of years of history. And actually, they asked him about this in the run up, when the sort of preliminary deal had been signed. And they said, "Well, who would you want to play?" And he's like, "Oh, Gulliman, maybe." But then, no, because I kind of want to do this. And they were like, "Well, who's it going to be?" And Henry Cavill said, "Look, man, I've really got to think about it, because I could, I can. I've only got one shot. I've got one chance to play one character. I can't sort of be Gulliman and then decide, no, now I want to be Horus. I can't do that. So whatever he does, he's going to have to be really, really sure in his choice. So he's nerding out, man. He's been given the choice. Who do I want to play? What story do I want to tell? Oh my god, I've been given the keys of the kingdom, and now I don't know what to do. And that sort of nerdism is truly, it's truly great for his fellow nerds to watch. We miss you as Superman, Henry. We love you. Please come back.
And it is, it is nerdism. It is also the passion as an artist to be able to create something.
Mhm.
Let's say also from that point of view as well. And I think that it is great that we're seeing someone excited about a project in that way. Bonzo has said, speaking of Tick Tick Boom, where's the musical Broadway content? Yeah, this is a good question. And I know that Michaelito says that oddly enough, a lot of older musicals are on YouTube. In fact, when YouTube first started, that's what was on YouTube were illegal videos of musicals. Um,
Really?
yes, it was almost like every single musical was on there, and I watched that stuff like crazy. And then of course they pulled it down because you're not allowed to have musicals on there. But what was on there forever was Wicked,
Mhm.
with Chris Chenoweth, and I can't remember the other lady, but it was a lot of musicals that were on there from years and years and years ago that people recorded. It was not supposed to be on there, but I watched a lot of it on there. It's a shame that we don't have more, and there haven't really made a lot this year. It's been very dry, to be honest with you, Bonzo. Mike has bad niece says that his oldest son's 10th birthday is today. Well, happy birthday to your son today on New Year's Eve. We
Yeah,
wish
many
him
happy returns.
absolutely. Mike has bad knees. Certainly a happy new year to him as well. Old Yorkshire Geek talks about Reacher and Night Agent, which I loved. I loved that.
What's
Yes,
that about?
it's about a guy who works for, I guess, maybe the FBI or CIA,
Mhm.
and he's on call at night, and he unravels a huge conspiracy during that time. It's just on the swing shift, like maybe it's not the swing shift but the night shift, and
Mhm.
it was great. I loved it. The guy who stars in it is also pretty hot,
Mhm.
so that was nice as well. Thank you for doing that, for getting hot men in the roles. Thank you so much, casting agents out there. We love you too. You you make it so enjoyable for all of us. um And what else was I going to say? Oh, yes. Michaelito also talks about Lincoln Lawyer and Bosch, and different things. I know that Michaelito has talked about how great Bosch was. Bosch is a very successful series. In fact, there's been Bosch the series and then Bosch Legacy. So that tells you right there how successful it is. But I kind of have to wonder, as I said again, about the ultimate goal of some of these companies. And there isn't, even from some of the CEOs, depending upon who the CEO is, you don't feel the magic when certain CEOs talk about creating entertainment for people. You got to feel that magic. You have to see that excitement. I think that when Apple does their corny, new product things, it's because they're excited about it and then they want you to be excited about it. And that's why that was an exciting thing to come out. Now I don't feel like they have the same excitement. But early on, they had such excitement for their products and they wanted you to be excited about them. And, the company itself doesn't have that level of awe and wonder in what they're making. It is also a concern going forward. And, I think that's something that Netflix has just continued to have, is the awe and wonder. It's there. They definitely have awe and wonder. You can tell by the types of stuff that they carry on their channel. A lot of it is fantasy. They have a lot of fantasy based.
Is it they have awe and wonder, or is it they just have money, and they'll say to the creator of Blood and Bone, yeah, we liked your pitch. How, it's going to cost this much? Great, go ahead, make your product. And if it doesn't hit our threshold, then you get one season, and that's all you get. If it hits our, if it continues to hit our threshold, you can have as many seasons as you want, but it needs to be good. Needs to be good, because if it ain't good, people aren't going to watch it, and they won't hit. Is it 50% of people have to watch 50% of whatever it is their cutoff point, and that's brutal. And that means lots of people don't get to see seasons that they love themselves, if you like, because I don't know, you like Karate Man season 1, and unfortunately Karate Man season 1 didn't get season 2. You're devastated. But that model seems to be working for Netflix, as cut and dried as it is. It means that they don't throw good money after bad. They make a show, it hits, they'll make a second season. They'll make a show, it doesn't hit, it's gone.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important thing, Russ. And in some cases, from some of the shows that we've seen, um, we're seeing situations where the casting is off. And, I think that's like 90% of the show. If the casting is bad, it's not going to work. And, one example of that would be, what's the one? Oh man, I can't remember the anime, but they made into a live action, and it was a big anime, a very popular
Oh
anime.
yeah, I know the one. Everyone hated it, didn't they?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that. Oh god, what was it called? Oh bloody hell! Someone in the chat will know. But I see you can say this of Amazon now. Like, here I am, like lauding the Henry Cavill thing, but then you've got the Rings of Power thing. What, you talk about casting? What did they expect was going to happen? Cowboy Bebop. Thank you, Mr. Lundell's Groovy
Thank
Movies.
you.
When they showed the Indian guy that's going to be Sauron, what did they think was going to happen? What did they really think the reaction to that was going to be? Because it's going to be exactly the same reaction that you got when you did this the first time round, and people have told you that the audience has spoken. Is an English thing. Just put English people in it. Anglo-Saxons. Put the Anglo-Saxons in it. It's an Anglo-Saxon thing. Just do that. Do that, and we'll be happy with it. But you'd have thought they'd be sat around the table thinking, oh well, we got the white fella, the good-looking fella as Sauron. Yeah, I don't like him. Who should we get? I know we can put an Indian guy. That'll work. They'll love it. Like, what did you think was going to happen? What did you think was going to happen? And I just don't understand. Like, you can be as progressive as you. Old Yorkshire Geek, I think he says it. They saw an opportunity to brag about how progressive they are. Maybe, but
They should have
you
had Henry Cavill play that role.
they should have had. He should be in everything. But
Well, he's supposed to be incredibly beautiful.
well, Henry Cavill is all of those
No,
things.
I mean, Sauron is supposed to
Yes, and
be.
Henry Cavill is beautiful, isn't he? Well, look
Yeah,
at him.
and he's supposed to be
I'd turn to the
seductive.
dark side for I turn to the dark side for Henry Cavill. He's like Elvis, isn't he? He's one of those guys that say, "Would you go?" Well, yes. I mean, it's Henry Cavill. If I was ever in a situation and Henry Cavill said, "Well, Russ, you're an attractive man," and I'll be like, "Well, where would you like me, Henry?" Who wouldn't? Um, but yeah, like, I just wonder. I can't bend my head around that thought process of like having something that is resoundingly being hated by 62% of your audience. They hate it.
Yeah.
Do you know what we're going to do for season 2? What's that? We're going to do exactly the same. We're going to double down on it. They'll like it in the end. No, they won't. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Well, he was supposed to be kind of the most attractive person, maybe even in the entire series. Like, the most attractive person in the entire series, so much that he was able to persuade people. And I'm not talking about let's have a debate. It wasn't any shit like that.
Mm.
Apparently, he was so incredible that, and I could see Henry Cavill playing a role like that, where he, he's so seductive that you're on board, and even if it's, you've been fooled, it doesn't matter. And I think they pretty much set it up pretty good for that in that series. There's a point where one of the elves is seeing a human woman,
Hmm.
and people don't like it, and he would be somebody who I could see Sauron seducing over to his side,
Mm,
because people are against him, and like the setup of it all. He could say something like, well, if you join with me, we can, you don't have to worry about what everybody else says about you and this chick. It'll be fine if you just
mm.
come over, and I can help you with that.
Yeah,
And he
exactly.
could be kind of seduced that way. And I do want to thank the Old Yorkshire Geek for the 10-pound super chat. Thank you so much. It says, Happy New Year, RM and Russ. Have a little drink to celebrate. Here's to 2024. Yes. Oh, it's
Nice
gonna
one,
be
old Yorkshire. All proceeds go to our. I'm merely a guest on this channel, and she deserves it for all the work that she does. It's not just this show, as I've said before. She does so much. So keep keep in with the spirit of giving. Thank you very much,
Thank
old
you so
Yorkshire
much,
geek.
Russ, for saying that, and thank you for your support. You do a lot as well. Thank you, Russ. There's a lot of discussions that you and I have over content and material and everything, honestly. So it is a lot. There's a lot behind the scenes. We should make our own special features of of everything that we
Mm,
do. Old Yorkshire Geek, you are a class act.
legend.
Um, Certainly do appreciate the super chat. Bonzo Kilborn says, I mean, where is the positive fandom musical discussion? Agreed. Um, one of these days I'll be able to do that, Bonzo. And certainly I do love musicals, as you know. And it's going to be, yeah, yes, it was Adina Menzel who was with Christian Chenoweth. Thank you. Um, yes, she did do Elsa, but even Disney hasn't had a successful musical in ages, Russ. And they had cornered, it was almost like they cornered the market on successful musicals. That was something that was important to them, that whole quality of music, and they just don't have it anymore. Um, what do you think, Russ?
Um, they've lost their way. That's it. They've lost their way of Disney. They've made bad decisions on bad decisions on bad decisions on bad decisions. It sort of goes back to this rings of power thing. It's kind of like, guys, you've been told categorically by your audience that this is not what they want. But we're just going to keep giving you what we want to give you, not what you want. And yeah, people turning away from their animated things in droves now. There was the whole thing about Buzz Lightyear. Like they can't do anything right at the moment, and that's a real shame because we all grew up with Disney. And Sam grew up with Disney, Winnie the Pooh. Fuck, we couldn't move from Winnie the Pooh videos and toys and Tigers and things like that. Because it was back in those days, it was okay, but now it's not.
Yeah, and Bonzo, and of course, this is something that I think about 4 or 5 times out of the course of the day. Says, thanks to all the hot men for being hot. Agreed. And I get a second that from Mikey Lito. Certainly something to think about. But let's see what else we have. Um, the Old Yorkshire Geek says maybe it's Sauron manifesting as Haradrim. I'm not into Lord of the Rings lore, but I recall them fighting for Sauron in Peter Jackson's
Yeah,
movie.
and that's an entirely valid point. It may well be, but I'm just talking about the optics. What did you think people were going to say? What did you really think that they were going to how they were going to react? Rightly or wrongly now, but you've already shit the bed. At this point, you'd be trying to course correct. You'd think they'd be trying, but clearly not. I don't get it. I don't understand. But then I'm not going to watch it, so it's not going to affect me.
You guys are making me laugh. Last night, Kevin Tito Calvin says last night on Project A Rose stream, they presented that what Lord of the Rings would look like if made using Akira Toriyama's style of artwork, and Tolkien anime would be great. Yeah, but it's fun things like that, Che, when you see somebody who puts in the effort to do it right, to make it right, if it's going to be in a different style. The game Ghost of Tsushima, it's a video game, and they have a vision. They have a version that's in full color, and then they also have a version that's in black and white.
Hmm.
And it's like they're trying to give you another feeling, like just like, I'm sorry, just like also in the movie, what can I remember the name of the movie? Where there's a version of it in color, and then there's also a version in black and white.
Justice
People,
League.
yes, people will watch these experiences and enjoy them because if it's done correctly with the correct aesthetic, it's going to look beautiful. And I really think you guys are cracking me up as Mike Elita says, I think Russ wants his cut.
No, I
And
don't. No,
Irene
I
says,
really don't.
Russ gets nothing, nothing.
Oh God. Okay.
Encanto was great, Irene. Encanto was great. I loved it. I thought that was a great musical. And yes, they had music from the guy who did Hamilton, and also they had the TV version or the movie version of Dear Evan Hansen, which I'm a huge fan of, as well. So there's that. So yeah, that is going on, but um, Encanto was part of the year of Lin-Manuel Miranda. Yes, it was. And he's just getting started. He has much more content, everybody, that he's written since day one, since like he was born. Manuel has a lot out there. Yes, Dear Evan Hansen was great, wasn't it? Irene, I really enjoyed it. Sunday Brunch the musical. Oh my gosh, you guys are making me laugh, and I love it. Thank you for the support for Sunday Brunch these 2 years, Russ.
Yeah, it's
2 years
crazy,
of Sunday
crazy
Brunch.
times.
Oh my gosh, and it's just been such a wonderful experience. Oh, the performing artist is here. Hello,
Hello.
performing artist. How are you today? Happy New Year to you. And let's see what he says. Not exaggeration. I thought Rings of Power was the worst directed and written TV shows I've ever seen, and felt bad for the cast. Yeah, only
Uh,
two characters were able to elevate the characters. You make a good point. Um, a
that's
performing artist,
that's
even
true. What's her
the
name?
hot
What?
the hot elf. I'm sorry, Russ. He's a good looking man. The guy who plays the elf,
Mm,
and they made him look bad.
mm,
And that man is hot. He's smoking hot.
mm, mm. Yeah. I've lost my train of thought now. Yeah. What was her name? Morfydd Clark. Is that the
Mhm.
lady that played Gladriel?
Oh
Yeah,
god, poor
she got
woman.
so much hate. It's a bit like the girl that's playing Snow White, like I've said on here before. Like these people are getting so much hate. At the end of the day, they're just actors doing their job, and they have been cast in these roles. Like I'm sure the guy Don Lemon, everyone calls says he looks like Don Lemon, and that
Oh,
guy.
poor fellow.
You know, I bet he was made up to get offered that part. I bet maybe he's read Lord of the Rings, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he didn't know the backlash he was going to get. Maybe he did, but ultimately, they're people that have been paid a lot of money to. Yeah, it's all of your dreams will come true. Fuck, Mum, I'm in this Amazon show. Yeah, I'm playing an elf. Oh, it's going to be so great. So they're the actors, but the decision of that doesn't often lie with. It certainly doesn't lie with the actors or even the writers for that matter. It's the producers that are making these decisions. So whilst I think the casting in Rings of Power was, I don't know, it just almost seemed like the two showrunners are sitting there, what can we do that's really going to piss millions of people off now that we've got the power? I know we're going to do this. Great, let's do that. Yeah, that's what it. Honest to God, that's what it felt like. And he's a good-looking guy, like no problem. And I remember saying to you at the time, and I think everybody agreed, if this had been Amazon generic fantasy show, no one cares. Literally nobody cares. But when you do this to a beloved 100-year-old classic that is almost a religious tone for for some people, they seem to speak the languages, they can write the writing, they can do all this kind of stuff. Don't do that. But okay, you've done it. Fine. But then in season two, learn from the millions upon millions upon millions of people that have unsubscribed from you and given you loads and loads of shit and giving your actors a hard time. Don't do that. Just move it on a couple of thousand years or so and retcon, right? Forget about that. Move on. But yeah, no, thanks for that, performing artist. I mean, as I say, I could only get through um, two episodes of it, and that was a struggle. And I just remember thinking how awful it looked and how silly. how silly the elves looked. I just, like it was kind of like Peter Jackson showed you what the elves look like. That's what they look like. Everybody and everyone's going, "Oh, they look fucking brilliant." That's exactly. Just what I imagined in my head. Well, no, no, no. We're not going to do that. We're going to make them look like, you know, the Romantics, that '80s band. Talking in your sleep. the,
I
the
I
guy with the hair.
I also want to mention something, and this is really important. And like as we go forward, let's say in positive fandom and our pretty much our approach on this channel is that I also did congratulate the production team who worked on the show because they busted their ass to make the show have a certain look. And
Mhm.
this is what the showrunner wanted. This is what the producer wanted. This is what the director wanted. They wanted this look. And this cast and crew had to go ahead and create this. This was not easy. They had a deconstructed look for the elves, deconstructed look for those creatures that are supposed to be like the other ones, but they're not. They busted their butts to make it look a certain way. And I understood what they were going for. I didn't care for it. I didn't like that deconstructed look, but you could tell it was quite consistent throughout all of those creatures where they had that look. And it wasn't my taste. It's not how I imagined the written material to be. And I think for many of us we shared that, but I still was like, it did take a lot of effort to make everybody look a certain way. They wanted it to look this way. This is what they wanted. I didn't care for it. It's not a favorite of mine. But they, for aesthetic value, especially for what I would expect from an elf, this man is a beautiful man, as you said, Russ. He's a beautiful man.
I'm sorry, which man are you talking about? Are you talking about a performing artist, or are you talking about this elf
I'm
guy?
gonna
Because
say both men.
because like he's got quite the look there. I'm kind of like I'm colouring up a little bit. Like, yeah, move the avatar, move the avatar.
Well, I'm gonna say the guy right there.
Okay.
Obviously, the performing artist is incredibly good looking. But for the gentleman over here who starred in there, they didn't have to do what they did to him. And it's not just him. I am noticing, a lot of characters that should be smoking hot in movies, they've taken away some of the hotness. And like I should have been drooling over this. I can tell you I was drooling over Legolas. I was
Mhm.
drooling over him. Like Orlando Bloom looks freaking hot as an elf. And this man
Mm.
equally attractive to Orlando Bloom. So I think that took away some of the fantasy part. This is a fantasy, isn't it? It's a fantasy. Um, and
Well,
you,
yes, no, it's a fantasy, but it's a fantasy that's 100 years old with its own law, traditions, and things like that. And so there are some things absolutely you can deconstruct. Some would say Snyder deconstructed Superman. I would argue Snyder was sticking close to the source material. Whatever. But this is something you don't deconstruct. You just don't. Like, who the hell do you think you are? Like, we know what this is. We saw how it was supposed to be done 20 years ago. Just do that with a different story, and everyone will love you. Everybody loved Lord of the Rings, didn't they? I
yes.
don't. I've met very, 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 very few people. Oh yeah, did you see that Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings? Them three that come out in the oh yeah, they're fucking shit, weren't they? Yeah,
Now,
literally nobody says that.
what added to it, and of course, a performing artist did mention this already. And I want to thank Darth Plato for the $2 super chat, who says, "Happy New Year, gang." Well, Happy New Year to you, Darth Plato. As you guys know, Darth Plato and I review historical movies together. Please do join us on Positive Fandom and on the Burnettwork as Darth Plato and I continue to review the Pacific series. We're
Mm.
we're going to be reviewing episodes um 5 and 6 this upcoming week, and then after that we're going to be reviewing Masters of the Air, and I can't wait to start doing that. Certainly, what a great show the Pacific has been. Darth Plato, thank you for joining me for those reviews, and guys, I sure hope you do join me and Darth Plato as we continue on throughout the year looking at movies like that. But what's interesting too, in addition to, let's say, this deconstructed appearance, the
Mm.
writing was not great. If the writing was great, Russ, and they went ahead and went off on a tangent, and we would just probably say, well, Sauron doesn't do this and Galadriel doesn't do that, but boy, this is kind of a good story. I think people could overlook certain things. If it was a quality story and it was just my vision, this is my vision. I don't know all of Lord of the Rings, but this is my
Or,
vision.
I just can't agree with you when it comes to Lord of the Rings. I think And it's not like I'm a huge like Lord of the Rings nerd, and and I've got the T-shirt and all that sort of thing. I'm talking about just generally culturally.
Oh yes, well, I certainly think you make a good point with that, Russ, and I appreciate that, and I'm certainly not going to say that they should do that, but I did notice that the writing of this show was not good writing, and at least if the writing was decent, and at least you could look at it and kind of critique it and say, well, they made an effort to write a good show, but also in that regard, I don't feel like they made an effort to write a good show.
Well, this is it. This is almost you remind me of my thoughts on the Last Jedi, which was hell bent on killing the past and all of that stuff, which would have been fine. And I hate to say it, it would have been fine. But you neglected to write a fucking coherent story around it. So if you're going to take a match to again one of the most universally beloved properties in the history of ever, and you're going to pour petrol on it, and you're going to set fire to it and go to lifelong fans, and that's over. It's Daisy Ridley and Kylo Ren from here on out. Fine, because those actors, the Luke Skywalker and all that, are getting older. We understand that, but you bet your story had better be tight as a gnat's fucking chuff and not have any holes, and it needs to make logical sense, and it needs to be perfect, and it needs to be awesome. And then yes, people would have bought into it, and they didn't. And in here, they seem to be so hell bent on the first black elf and the first black dwarf and the first gay this and the first orange that and the first, yeah, okay, that's all good, but the story's shit. So not only have you failed in terms of respecting the law, which has been loved by millions of people, and they've let you know in no uncertain terms, they people that hate this story for what they've done to the law, LORE, they can't even offer you a crumb of comfort and say, well, yeah, well, it was pretty good. Actually, I don't agree with your decisions. However, the show was fucking top notch. They can't even say that because it was shit. I don't know.
No, it's a good point, and I also want to say Happy New Year to Luminara, Luminara, the queen of Figure Flex Friday, and also
Hmm.
an incredibly talented cosplayer. Luminara, Happy New Year to you, my dear. It's such a pleasure to see you, and it was great to meet you this year. What a great year we had at New York Comic Con, getting to meet you and see your cosplay. Guys, I have a video where I talk about meeting Luminara, and she's actually on the thumbnail where we were hanging out. Such a great time, Luminara. I
Was
wish
it
you
this year that
all.
you came to London?
I'm sorry.
Was it this year you came to London? Or was that last year?
It was this year that I went to London.
Wow.
Yes.
Bloody hell. Are you coming back next year?
Yes.
Okay. When?
Yeah. I haven't determined that yet, but it's probably gonna be something like around October.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
if I'm here, you know where to come.
Absolutely, Russ. I certainly will. And thank you for being such a kind and welcoming host. You took care of me. I was kind of sick when I got there. And you just made things so comfortable for me. I want to thank you again for being such a gentleman while I was staying at your house. I so appreciate how
You're
kind you
more
were.
than welcome. And we went to the Sandman pub as well, didn't we? That was a highlight. I've still got that picture of you on that chair where the Sandman was. So yeah.
I'm so excited. I can't believe I was in the same booth where they filmed Sandman. Such a fantastic series. And certainly Neil Gaiman, I just love that. Being able to be there. When you mentioned that it was in your town or near where you live, I just was so excited. But to be able to actually sit in there and sit at the table, we had to push the regulars out. But
Oh yeah, that bloke was so pissed, wasn't he? Remember that one bloke?
he
Like I was trying to
just
explain to him. And then his mate just said to him, "Just fucking move, Terry." And he's like, "All right." Do you
it was
remember?
it was great because he actually just kept getting up to get more alcohol. Like
Yeah.
he just like it was like he just couldn't stop. And he seemed okay. It was just I was like, "Gee, is he gonna move?" And but fortunately,
They made him move in the end. That was like because the one of them was less drunk, and I was trying to explain to him that you were from the States and it was a big deal and blah blah blah. And he was like, "Oh yeah, yeah, no problem." The other bloke was just like, "Oh, fuck off." It was brilliant.
it was, and thank you, Russ, for everything. And it wasn't just that I was sick and you got me lemsick and everything else that you did, driving me back and forth sometimes to the train station, to catch the train, and everything else. Thank you. Really,
It's
just
only a
second to
pleasure.
none. Certainly, definitely the highlight of my year.
Oh, Rita.
Tom June Jackson says, "Dear Evan Hansen, yes, it turns out that the man who Dear Evan Hansen is a musical, and it's about a young man who befriends someone who has committed suicide, but the poor boy's parents, of the boy who committed suicide, thinks that Evan Hansen is much closer to their son than he actually is, and
Ah,
Evan doesn't know how to handle this, and that's what the musical's about. And it's a great musical. In fact, I've watched it about a bazillion times with my mom. But the man who plays the role, and he's played it on Broadway, um starred in the movie. And as you can imagine, it's almost 15 years later, and he's in his 40s now. And you see him walking in playing a high school student, and it's so creepy and eerie. Tom, I think they are going to de-age him in the film, because people have complained and said that it's not appropriate to see this 45-year-old guy, even though he sounds great. And
mhm.
it's weird. It's kind of like Napoleon.
Yeah.
It's so weird. So it's all right. They're gonna change it, and it's gonna be changed. And but yes, it was a huge comment about Dear Evan Hansen, and certainly the disaster of having a 40-year-old walk the halls as a high school student, which no one, absolutely no one, would believe. Um Oh, yeah, and Darth Plato talks about the Pacific and how underrated it was.
I've never seen it. In fact, I was thinking when you were talking about that, I might start watching Band of Brothers because I haven't seen that for years. I just remember it was awesome, and I never watched the Pacific, and I certainly didn't watch the aeroplane one either.
Well, the airplane one is the one that's gonna be starting quite soon.
Oh, it's not started yet. Oh, okay. Forgive me.
It has not started yet, and I did just wanna mention it because, it's so important. Let me see if I can pull this up without. I don't think I can pull it up so that you can just see but, the thing that I like about the Pacific is that, first of all, I've never seen it before, so it's completely new to me, and it's such a great production.
Mhm.
So Darth Plato, of course, it's a set, and everybody knows this. This is not new, but I figured everybody has already seen Band of Brothers. Like
Mhm.
everyone has seen Band of Brothers already,
Mm.
and I have seen Band of Brothers 20 years ago when it first came out, and
Mhm.
so I thought, why not watch the Pacific? Um, because, not as many people have seemed to see that particular series. And so, Dark Plato and I have been reviewing 2 episodes every week until Masters of the Air premieres.
Mm.
And there I am watching it. He and I are watching the watch parties that we're doing.
So,
And
question: Is it like is it the sequel to Band of Brothers? Is it the same thing where they've got like the actual soldiers there saying, "Oh yeah, that was rubbish when we did this," and "Oh my god, I
no,
remember."
no, it
No,
is
it's
not.
not. It's not the same because I remember that distinctly from Band of Brothers. They actually had the guys that were in the battles and they were being represented. Okay, well, you know what? I'll give it a go.
You
It's
should
new.
give it a go. And I did just want to mention that
I need to watch more movies and less crap on YouTube. I spend a lot of time just I finish work and go into the front room and I might, have a cup of tea and a spliff and what have you, and then I'll sit there and I'll fuck it, I can't be bothered to watch anything. I'll just watch some YouTube. And that's been my pattern very much. And I've decided as my New Year's revolution, which I've just invented on the spot, maybe I'll watch less YouTube this year and watch more entertainment.
that's interesting. And I think you and I have been talking about this, Russ, about this incredible era that we had on YouTube during the lockdown. And it was a
Mm,
very special time. And it was a time where, for many of us, it was such an outlet and so important for us to be able to have this area to broadcast on and communicate on. And for many people, that was really the only thing they have. And it probably saved a lot of lives. I think it's so important for our community to reach out to each other. There was no other way to reach out to people. And if anything, YouTube maybe became this I don't even know, form of therapy. Even for me at times when you're stuck at home and we could not go anywhere. I think it served a purpose that went beyond the fact that we were discussing movies, and we like to have intelligent conversation about entertainment, but certainly it did serve another purpose, and that's something that I'll always be grateful to YouTube for. I never
Mm.
guessed YouTube would have served that role. When I first started watching YouTube, it was to see um gaming videos, gaming walkthroughs,
Cat
and
memes and shit.
obscure records that I couldn't get, electronic dance music records that were not available, but they were all on YouTube, and also musicals.
I remember that time. I mean, whatever you think of those channels like Mauler and Midnight's Edge and things like that. I remember Midnight's Edge specifically, actually, and the other ones, Geeks and Gamers or Nerdrotic, that crowd and the Midnight's Edge crowd. Those guys on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I think they streamed for 48 hours, not individually, but they had people coming in for 3 4 hours, then they would go off and have Christmas dinner, and then someone else would come in, because of course, been in England, America, Australia, New Zealand, you've always got people. For me, so for example, now it's what morning for you, it's afternoon for me, and for somebody in Australia it's going to be very early morning, and they kept those streams going, just live streams, complaining, talking about the same shit that they always talk about. It didn't matter. Personally, it was a very lonely time for me, actually, that period, and those guys, and though I may have fallen out of love with a lot of it, they really got me through it. I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was just so great to be in the house on New Year's Eve or whatever, and just have voices, like people that you recognized and liked, and they were there and they were having a laugh, and you could sit and you could have a drink and just listen to stuff that you're interested in. Yeah, it was a they did some good work, and you're right. They probably did, if not. Oh, yeah, maybe they did save lives. They kept people going. Certainly kept me company, and that's a gift I can never repay.
Yeah, and I feel the same way, Russ. And I think that in the end, when they talked about the toll that the pandemic and the lockdown would have on mental health, certainly we are seeing that that is true. But at the same time, we're also hearing opinions and comments from people who I don't think had the opportunity to share in this way before with anyone. It's free. You can come here and share your thoughts and concerns, and if you need to talk it out or let us know your opinion or whatever, we hear it. And
Mm.
a lot of that, having a friend to talk to is part of what keeps people alive. We know this. There've been studies about it, that people do need to communicate and they need to tell people how they're feeling and share their experiences. It's real. It matters. And a lot of times it's why I do these streams, and I do like to hear everybody's opinions because it is fun to hear them. But we're very lucky that YouTube didn't do something crazy like stop, shut down completely. And I just keep my fingers crossed that we've been so lucky to have it as this extra outlet, if you will, for so many, um going forward and into perpetuity. I hope YouTube stays around. And YouTube itself became a competitor in the streaming wars, right, Russ?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more with that. And I think, there are instances where people via YouTube have got their chance to, make their own movies. I mean, I know that Critical Drinkers crowdfunded his movie. Chris Stuckman got picked up to make a movie. And also there's a famous story of the guy that did Troops, the cops thing, but he did it with stormtroopers. He got picked up by, and I know that was years ago. Yeah, um, it's definitely an outlet. And one of the things now, like I say, I really don't watch those live streams anymore. I just think it's become, well, the big question is it, has it become a grift, or has it not become a grift? But by the by, the good thing to come out of those channels like Geeks and Gamers and Nerdrotic and Drinker and Mauler and all of these people that are against identity politics in movies, it did give millions of people a voice. And I think that voice has, in some ways, it's been ignored, but it's certainly been heard. I think we've now got past the stage where these people in boardrooms, maybe not the top guys, but there are people out there that know that there are these channels out there, and they are growing in support, and they continue to grow. Because if these channels weren't continuing to grow, they wouldn't, would no longer be profitable, and they wouldn't do it anymore. Um, but yeah, um, it's a good thing. I think it's a good thing, and yeah, it did. It helped me. It helped millions of people, I think.
Absolutely, Russ. And I think that we were part of it. It's not just people who are on camera who are part of it. Everybody in the chat, all of you out there, we're all part of it. This is a community effort, and it is true there's some people who don't do the chat thing, or it's just a video, but it
Mm,
is a community effort. We're here to support one another and creators in the community. It's so important to be doing that. And right now, Darth Plato and I are trying to bring attention to the Pacific
mm.
by reviewing it and talking about how amazing it is. It's unbelievable. The cast is also great. Tom Jr. Jackson sharing with us that at some point this year, he's going to be going to Illinois and he can't wait to save up for it. This is exciting.
Every time
Tom,
I hear the word Illinois, I just think of the outlaw Josie Wales. They say to him, "Where are you from?" And he goes, "Illinois," because he's Clint Eastwood, and everything he says just sounds chilling. Oh shit! Don't go there then.
and best wishes to the old Yorkshire geek and
Yeah,
Irene.
Happy New Year, old Yorkshire geek and Irene.
Absolutely. And Luminara saw Dear Evan Hansen live. It wasn't it great? Luminar, what a great musical. Just so incredible. A performing artist says that he's excited for the new animated version of Lord of the Rings 2024. There's so much they can do in animation. And yes,
Yeah, he's got a
yes.
point. Now, this is interesting because I was just in the shower just before this stream, and I was listening to last night's Robservations, or was it Midnight Metal? I don't know. But Rob was reading an article about this, and the article was postulating that they were talking about superhero movies, been in the toilet, um, what's going to happen, and the author, the journalist, writer of the article, um, said that maybe the future lies in animation because what you call it, the Spider-Man Beyond the Spider-Verse or Into the Spider-Verse, whatever it's called, that did really, really well and probably cost a fraction of what it cost to make a huge tempo. So performing artist has a point there. Um, yeah, I'm looking forward to it as well. Let's see what Warner Brothers come up with. I think it's Helm's Deep they're doing. They're redoing Helm's Deep, aren't they?
That's exciting. I knew nothing about this. And I think it's exciting. I didn't know it was coming out. I'm gonna be looking for it. Russ, I love the thought of them doing more animation, and hopefully they won't stop because there are a lot of stories to be told in that particular lore, that IP, right?
Yeah, I guess so. I just hope that Warner Brothers have learned from the mistakes of Amazon and don't do that. Stick to what they wrote. Yes, I mean there's things within Lord of the Rings I guess you can do. You can take side characters that disappear. They do something and disappear off, and you can have the innkeeper from the Prancing Pony and his amazing adventures. Whatever you want to do. I don't think this is that. As far as I recall, I think it's something to do with the Rohirrim, and they are having a female lead. They're kind of going down that road. That's what they said, but that was before. So I don't know.
Exactly, guys, and thank you, Russ, for being very specific about it. I wanted to also mention Luminara says her top 3 shows this year were The Gilded Age, which is one of my favorite shows, Rap Shit, and The Continental. And certainly, Luminara, you and I should talk about The Continental since you've seen
Mm,
it. I'd love to talk to you and reach out to you. Maybe we could do something on The Continental going forward. I feel like it was one of the best action, let's say, mini series this year, Luminara. I don't think it's gotten the attention it deserves. I was supposed to do a review of it. I ran out of time, which happens, guys. It's this year. I'm only gonna be streaming on 2 days a week, and I've changed a lot of the way that I stream now. And I had to, obviously, for work. Many of you out there are back in the office. I have friends who were telling me that their company mandated that they're in the office 2 or 3 days a week now that things have changed. Like, these things do happen. And for many of us, it reduces the amount of time that we're able to stream. But Luminar, we got to talk about the Continental, because I haven't seen anything like the Continental that, it really, I feel, fits into a niche that no one's talking about. And it's just amazing. It was an amazing series. Who would have thought that you would have had John Wick 4 come out in the same year as the Continental, and they'd both be spectacular.
Mhm.
What I have to congratulate that team that had the passion to want to do the Continental, because they don't have to do that. But they did, and it's amazing. The
It
Gilded
was
Age.
awesome.
Oh, God, it was so good. So, Luminar, I want to reach out to you if you ever, maybe we could talk about doing something on that, if you have time. And Tom Jr. Jackson, I want to thank you, who's always helping me with my thumbnails. I guess it's a new thumbnail for season 3 for Sunday Brunch. Yeah, it's going to be very interesting to look at that. And just a final note, guys, Darth Vader and I will continue to review the Pacific. Um, and Darth Vader, I have to reach out to you about the day that I'm going to do it on as well. But do check it out. Check out the Pacific. It's an incredible series so far. I've been enjoying it. And of course, Darth Plato and I will continue to do our reviews of historical films going forward. It says that the war in Europe and the Pacific were very different. Very different. Very different. I always knew that Marines would get on. This is going to sound very ridiculous, but I'm not going to say it isn't true that they didn't show this in other movies. And I've always known that Marines had to go on, ships to go from place to place. But I've never seen anything where I'm kind of like seeing more of what they're doing, because in the Pacific, of course, it's about Marines, which I didn't know it was about Marines, but I found out after watching it. I noticed that they have to take a ship to go someplace. They're there for a little while, and then they have to get back on the ship. And it's like tough for them. It's difficult. This is the notion of, you're going to be dropped off here. We're going to move you here. And it just feels so like they can never find a grounding, and
Mm.
they always have to be like on, like it's really a fantastic series that they've made. And I haven't really seen very many series where you see them kind of being shuttled around as much. Like, they're really being pushed to the limits each time. It's really an amazing series, and I'm so glad that we're doing it, Darth Plato. And thank you, Darth Plato, always for everything. Russ, I was gonna say, Russ, do you have any final thoughts or anything
Yeah, there's something I
you'd like
wanted
to
to
say
call out here, if
yes,
I
before
can
we end the show?
find it. So, performing artist said a little while ago, which struck me actually. He says, Russ, I'll switch places with you. I will be making a concerted effort to read more books, particularly Shakespeare, this next year, as I hope to join a Shakespeare acting company this year. So I think we can all be
Nice.
supportive of that. That is awesome, a performing artist. I
Oh,
love that.
yes.
And
Yes.
also, I would like to call out Joey Johnston that says, "You speak the truth, Russ." Yes. No, he says, "You speak the truth, Russ. You guys really helped when I lived in a middle of nowhere prairie town with 150 people. I eventually left after 4 years because of how isolated I felt." And that's referring to when we were talking about, Christmas and the 24-hour YouTube. Well, I'm glad that they were able to help you as well, Joey. I mean, that's awesome. It's also brilliant that a performing artist is going to be out doing some performing. And I do want to read that comic book as well from T and Telly.
Yes, did she mention which one it
She
was?
did not. I think she'd gone. But I guess we
Okay.
can we can look it up. But no, I think all that remains to be said by me is just everybody be safe, be happy, have a brilliant new year. It's after 5, which means it's time to start the early drinking, as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, have a great night, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to us rant on about all of these things. And let's hope 2024, if not all, some of our dreams come true. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Happy New Year.
Absolutely, Russ. How so beautifully said. And I also want to wish the last person a very happy new year. Random Rick reviews at work dropping by to say, Happy New Year, everyone. Well,
Oh,
Happy New
guess
Year.
who just turned up? Fucking hell, Joe. We've been killing time for like an hour, 2 hours waiting for you.
Thank
Where
God
the
you
hell,
did.
where the hell have you been? What do you call
Thank,
this?
thank God you did show up, Joe, because we've been waiting for you.
That's
And we
it. Now we're finishing now. That's it. We go, we going. Big Joe's here. It's all right, everybody. Anybody still listening? Joe's made it. We can now close the show.
Absolutely. Joe Tyson is here. Cheers and happy new year to you, Joe. And certainly hope you enjoy the rest of your year. 2024 is knocking at the door, Russ. It's knocking at the door.
Mhm.
And certainly I cannot wait. It's going to be such a wonderful year, guys. And also, someone said something really nice that I liked. Where is it? I'm not going to be able to find it. But it was such a nice comment about all the positive people on our community. And of course, I'm just get emotional about it. But thank you everybody for being here. Thank you, Tom Jr. Jackson, my moderator, collaborator, and good friend. You are so supportive. We are all goof people. Yeah, Joe, he had to do a Costco run, you know.
I found your comment. It was from Cavantino, Calvin Chase. Fellowship of Fandom is saving lives through good people interacting with good people.
Absolutely. And I so appreciate those kind words. Thank you, everybody, for supporting Positive Fandom. I want to thank everybody who has been so generous today. Of course, Terrier. Love you, Terrier. Love you, love you, love you. Mwah. Uh, happy New Year and happy holidays to you and your family, Terrier. Irene with a $5 super chat. Thank you so much, Irene, for the generosity. And happy birthday again to your daughter, Abigail. And of course, the old Yorkshire Geek with a 10-pound super chat. Thank you so much, Old Yorkshire Geek, who says, Happy New Year. Have a drinky drink to celebrate. I certainly shall. And of course, Darth Plato for the $2 super chat, who says, Happy New Year, gang. Well, Happy New Year to you, Darth Plato. And certainly, guys, check out the streams that I'm going to be doing with Darth Plato in this year. Guys, also check out my new channel, Roman Empire Matters. Also subscribe to Tom Jr. Jackson's YouTube channel. And thank you everybody for being here for Sunday brunch. Happy New Year, everybody! 2024. Yeah,
Happy
it's
New Year,
gonna,
guys.
it's gonna be amazing, guys. You are all the best. And remember, no matter where you are out there in the galaxy, always remember to please be kind. Take care,
Love you guys.
everybody.
Take care. Bye bye.